people are generally selfish, and it's natural for us to pursue our own interests in regardless of others. And we kind of, in society, we know that, but we kind of compromise on morality so that the society is orderly, because if everyone put in their self-interest, it wouldn't necessarily work. And there was also an interesting point you made that being evil and being bad is kind of the easy way, because it's a smoother road. There's other people trying to do it. If you're a great virtuous man, like, any kind of great man, maybe Michael Jordan, that's very difficult. You're on your own. You're trying to pursue your truth and inspire, but the guy that's kind of just in a bar drinking and maybe being unfaithful to his wife, that's an easy alternative. And for a man, so Glasson said that for a man to be good, he has to want to be good rather than seem good. So another way to think about it is they have to be not very outcome focused and in it for the actual goodness of itself. So if that's true, then we mustn't allow the good man. The extent to this is that we must not allow the good man to seem good. Otherwise, he will have the rewards paid to him. Actually, let me say that again. We must not allow him to seem good, as if he does, he will have all the rewards paid to the man who has the reputation for justice. So we must strip back everything apart from the actual pure justice itself. So the just man, the hyper extent to this is that he must have the worst reputation for wrongdoing, so we can test his justice under the weakness of unpopularity. Whereas the unjust man, he reaps through schemes that bring him respectability. They give him wealth. They allow him to marry well because he has that reputation. And the way that the world works is it rewards appearance rather than reality. So the kind of assumption here is that good brings about suffering, or you will be punished as it's a corrupt world. You'll be going against the convention, which also inspires a lot of Machiavelli's thoughts of ruling through deceit and getting power through deceit. So people ask a lot. There's this kind of divide between your reputation of being good and actual being good itself, and then that poses a lot of questions about, should you curate this reputation?
It's far easier to define a bad / immoral path than a good / moral path. You even use Michael Jordan as an example of what might be a good life, but then I pose to you, like, was he friendly to his teammates? No. There are horror stories of how he treated his teammates. Was he a friendly character, a good moral character on the basketball court? Well, he was good at the function, let's say, of the basketball game. But was he a moral sportsman? Not always. Is he the greatest player of all time? Yeah, potentially. But was he a good man in getting there? I don't know. That's why it's much easier to define the things that we'd all probably collectively say, no, we don't do that. Do you know what I mean? If you're in a stable state of mind, don't murder people, don't steal, like don't abuse people, don't harm others unnecessarily. That's kind of the general principle. And we're all kind of in agreement of that. We are all in agreement of that. But the good and moral path, that's a lot more complicated. And you're right. You can look good without doing good. So my second point that I made was that reputation cannot be the aim. Because if reputation is the aim, that's a shallow path to being good. It's not being good. It's framing yourself as good. It must emerge, reputation this is, by itself as a consequence of the value you bring. If you do that, then if reputation emerges, it precedes you, and it's as a consequence of who you are. It's real. It's not shallow. It's an accurate representation of who you are. And it's kind of similar to how people these days, I think I've heard Chris Williamson say that this idea that people want to be famous just for the sake of being famous in this world. And you can kind of do that. You can build yourself up as an influencer or whatever, and you can kind of just be famous because people follow you online. Whereas 200 years ago, the people that the collective consciousness knew about were famous because of something they did, because of stories that people would tell, things like this.
No, that's spot on. It's so much easier to find evil than it is good, and that's a great example, because who's to say that Michael Jordan or Beyonce, someone with an amazing public image, isn't actually just a deceiver? How do you know they're not a Machiavellian and have got there from by deceit? So,
and also they're just well known, right? I think there's a lot of good and a lot of moral in the things that go unseen in our society. This is like the bin man that's worked in that line of work for however many years or decades, and just doesn't complain and just does a job that the majority of us wouldn't want to do, gets up early in the morning, gets it done, works long hours to provide for his family. That is good. That's a moral path. That is potentially, well, it is to me actually, that's more good and more moral than the path of being Michael Jordan. They're just different. Yes, he's inspired, let's say, thousands of people. That's good. But there's also, there's good in the small, I don't want to call them small because it's not, it's just less, in the less talked about, let's say, in the quieter aspects of society in the world that you have to take more notice to see.